Welcome back to Unstoppable. My name is Gus, and in today's episode, we're going to be going specifically into exactly that word. We're going to be talking about unstoppable and living unstoppable in very specific areas and in very specific ways. And if you stay all the way to the end, we have a very special giveaway just for you. So please be sure to watch it and join us for this special giveaway. And also, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe and like this video, as it would help us just get this video out to more people who can use the type of conversation we're going to be having today. So Nick, we're going to be talking about unstoppable. And you have a book called Unstoppable, right? And you wrote that some years ago.
Yep.
And I don't think I've ever seen you go into a deeper conversation regarding that book or in that, because I don't think there was that type of setup or environment or platform to do so. And it might have been just in conversations.
It was a long time ago as well. It was the book Unstoppable. I think it was published. It was my second book. And I think we published it in 2011 or 2012, somewhere there. And I remember having a little bit of a chuckle with Bethany Hamilton and her team, and they're like, we really want to, call the film Unstoppable, and we knew it was the title of your book. I'm like, you guys are awesome. It's like, it's not about, a single person or anything. It's understanding that powerful word, unstoppable. We all have a story to share, and that's what I keep on reiterating, and that's why I want people to understand that that resilience, right? That's another word for the word unstoppable, resilient. It's not about the choice of words. It's when you look at people like Bethany Hamilton, when you look at all sorts of people who never gave up, who triumphed over victory, who took their obstacles and turned it into opportunities. That's what the miraculous path we all can go on. And it has been a long time since I wrote that book, and I actually want to say this. Apart from Love Without Limits, which is the book that my wife and I wrote and co-wrote together about helping people believe in true love and believe in that God has a plan for those of you who have a desire to get married, and Love Without Limits was a big one. Unstoppable was a favorite book of mine to write because I was transparent, really transparent about those real times in life where I share about how difficult my life was. The first book in 2009, or published in 2010, Life Without Limits, that was kind of a biopictorial kind of book, a biography, snapshots of high level of my life, going from no limbs to no limits, if you will. But Unstoppable, really, I'll never forget it. It wasn't difficult to know, what am I going to write in this book? Because I wanted to summarize that last decade of life, of the challenges that are relevant to, I think, most of us. But how do you become resilient? How do you come to a point where it's not about, the word is such a powerful, bold word. And I love that this is the title of the podcast, because we all need to find resilience in something. And it doesn't mean that we're superhuman. It doesn't mean that we've cracked the code and the formula and, I never feel down or this or that. That's not true. But how do you have that mindset, that heart change, that faith and courage to never give up, no matter what the cause and difficulties are of the pain? And so I hope that you're going to encourage someone else as well with this message, because if it's not us who feels like we need a little bit of encouragement, there's always someone around us as well that say, hey, listen to this. So think of someone while you're listening to this, because this is going to be a good one.
Right. And then share it with them, right?
Share it.
Because they're going to need the not just the advice, but the motivation, knowing that they can have and live a faith or a life that's unstoppable.
Yeah.
But, I think in light of the fact that you mentioned that it's also the name of the podcast, like to some extent, this is also like a foundation for the podcast, because I think some of the ideas or thoughts or questions I'm going to be asking you are going to be laying a foundation for even how we approach other conversations. It's because, like, if we're talking about business or we're talking about family, it's like, how do we live an unstoppable life of faith in these areas, right? That's what we're trying to do. So I'm going to read you, because I think what I enjoy doing just in general is just starting from the bare minimum is like, how did you define unstoppable? And I'm going to read it to you exactly how you defined it. And I think in seeing if do you have more thoughts to add, or would you change that? Because you said 13 years ago now,
Yeah,
and maybe you have more matured ideas in regards to that. So I think we can talk about that. So when you wrote it, Unstoppable, and again, if you didn't know, it's the incredible power of faith in action. That was the subtitle for it. You define unstoppable as not being free from the problems or struggles, but as living with faith that empowers you to overcome fear, doubt, and limitations. Do you need me to repeat that, or was that good?
No, I got it.
Yeah. I mean, that was, to me, that was a really good definition, because, is someone going to be stoppable to some extent? Yes, but it's living life, how you said it right here, living in light of the faith that empowers you to overcome the fear, the doubt, and the limitations. What are your thoughts on what you said, and what more matured ideas do you have on that?
I love that. I feel like we could write a book now just on that.
Still unstoppable.
It's still That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that a lot. But fear.
Pre-order now.
Pre-order now. I'll write it, I promise. It won't be AI. But there's so much, since 13 years ago, where obviously there's been a lot of different things. But I mean, the truth remains the truth. That's the wonderful thing about the truth. And it actually, what comes to my mind about the dimensions and the context is the third part might need more texture now. But the first thing is fear, having faith to overcome fear. Now, we know that despite circumstances, it doesn't matter, if a circumstance is difficult, it doesn't define you. Some of us need counseling. Some of us need to journal and reflect. Some of us need to go through programs or rehab or whatever that circumstance is. Sometimes it means confronting another human being. Sometimes, whatever that looks like, it can be dealt with. Your past doesn't define your future. And your circumstance certainly doesn't as well. And so you as an individual, a heart, mind, soul, you're not defined by these circumstances. And when I look at someone, it's not about your disability. It's about who you are. It's why I look at people in the eyes, is because the eyes are windows to your soul. And the way that God sees us, every circumstance might be feeling bigger than our strength, but that's where the faith comes in. FAITH, full assurance in the heart, that despite what you feel, despite what you see, despite what you know, and limited vision of the future of your life, God sees past all that. And all he sees is you. He loves you. He has a plan for you. He causes all things to come together for the good for those who love him, who've been called according to his purposes. And so that's why faith is the key element in all of this. To know that when you're not strong, he will be with you. When he doesn't change a circumstance, he can use your circumstance, but you can find healing, redemption, and even purpose within the brokenness, in being a miracle for someone else when you don't get a miracle. That's the preface. Fear. Fear is, again, I think we talked a little bit about this in resilience, where you have thoughts and feelings, and then you decide what you do with those thoughts and feelings. And fear, I think, will cripple you more than having no limbs. FEAR, false evidence appearing real. How many hours in the day and days of our year do we focus on fears that just never come true? I mean, what a waste of energy and what a distraction. Instead of focusing in on what is true, what you do know instead of what you don't know, what you do have instead of what you don't have, not allowing those negative voices screaming at you, convincing you to think about giving up, or thinking that, you know what, there's no way out. All the naysayers, they're right. All these mountains I need to climb, they're too high. That's the fear that unfortunately most people never overcome. The way that I overcame that fear was actually in practical daily life, where I had a fear of failure, like everyone has.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. We all have that. But if I wanted to achieve something in a daily life, like get up on that couch and try pick up something off the bookshelf, okay, there's a fear of failing. But how bad do you want to try that?
Yeah.
How badly do you want that thing off the shelf? Where you're okay to embrace failure along the journey to see if it actually is possible. So when you look at fear, there's a subliminal sister or brother attached word, which is impossible. Well, I don't look at impossible. I focus on what if that could be possible? What if I actually could get that? And I was ready to fail along the way to success. And I adopted failure as my classroom.
Mm-hmm.
The fear of rejection, the fear of this or that. There's some even fear of success, but fear is a big, big word. But if you can embrace failure along the way, which is 50% of the fear that people have, and rejection and what that all looks like, I was able to try and fail, try again, and achieve. And that motivation came as a well within me because, oh my goodness, not only did I have doubts of me not being able to achieve that, but I proved even my fears wrong.
Yeah.
If I prove my fears wrong, then I could then potentially prove the fears of the world wrong, or rejection wrong, or the word impossible wrong. I mean, what a breakthrough that was for me.
Yeah.
I disproved that was impossible. It's because it was only said, it was only thought. So when you prove things are possible to yourself, it's like, well, what else could I achieve? That was the benefit of having no limbs. I actually dealt with some impossibilities early on and broke the word impossible in so many situations where I'm like, well, then what actually else is possible? And that's why when someone looks at me and says, that's a crazy dream, or that's impossible, I don't even hear it. Like my ears just shut out any word of impossible because we've done the impossible by the grace of God. I mean, anyway, I don't want to give a resume or this and that and all those miracles, and all glory goes to God, but the impossible has been done. Does that mean everything was meant to be? No. Does that mean everything is possible? If it's under God's permissible will and perfect will, there's a difference between permissible will and perfect will of God. Are all things possible with God? Yes. Will everything then happen beautifully? No, we're not in heaven. But understanding that trust and faith, that's when you become unstoppable, that no matter what the world says. And that goes into then the doubt. I think doubt actually is referred to your identity of your capability and your value. It's a different category of thinking. It's not doubting, again, of achieving. I think doubt is a different thing of I'm doubting myself.
It's like
I'm
a false
doubting
perception.
a false perception
Of those specific areas or who I am or my identity in that case.
Yeah, which is very more interesting on the success level then as well. So your first person's perspective of who you think you are, where faith then changes everything.
Yeah.
I'm a man without arms and legs. No, by faith, I know that I'm a child of God. I'm wonderfully and fearfully made. Money comes and goes. That doesn't define who I am, even though I achieve something and I have an unstoppable mindset. That doesn't mean I'm going to achieve the next great venture.
Right, right.
Being open-handed with faith, that God's the one who grants you the success. That's the difference between the world and a faith-believing Christian that lives out every day. It's God who gives us the success. It's God that gives us the victory. Oh, you know, I thank you, Nick, for saying yes to God. Well, it's the mercy and grace of God that I even heard about the truth. and the softness of the heart and the ears that were open to even hear the truth, it's always thanks to God. Mm-hmm. What I admire about some religions out there that I look at, the Jewish people especially, when something bad happens, they never ask, why God? They say, for what purpose is this God? And that's the interesting thing, is like there's always a meaning and purpose in how things unfold, and having that mindset of, this doesn't define me. What are you doing right now? I asked for this. It didn't happen. What are you doing? I want this to happen. It's not happening. What other door do you have for me? And it's that surrender. And you can lay down that doubt of the path. We put so much emphasis and confidence in a good plan. What if that fails? Mm-hmm. And so that doubt with faith, it's laid down, and you do your best and God does the rest in all that. And as he lights up with a little lamp, that one step, you keep on taking that one step. And that's where doubt kind of goes away. There cannot be any darkness when there's light. So God, help me to light up that next step. So that's how that happens. And knowing the truth of your purpose, your identity, and your value has nothing to do with the outer things or what the world thinks about you and what you achieve, what you can't do, what you can do. That's all different. And then the last thing was, so it was fear, doubt, and limitations. That's when you can get giddy like a kid in a candy store. Mm-hmm. Because if there's a limitation, God can get rid of that. God can give me arms and legs. I'd love to have arms and legs. I was laughing with you off stage with how AI produced imagery of me with legs,
right,
without arms, and we'll be getting the other one of arms and legs, and it looks really good. And what does it look like to have a nice six-pack? So we've had fun with AI and these images where that would be a wonderful desire fulfilled. I mean, I'd love to put my hands around my wife. Mm. I'd love to hold her hand. But at the same time, what is it that, if something is limited, what is it in my limited vision that I'm not seeing? So, is a disability bad? Yeah. Would it be good to have arms and legs? Yeah. But I don't need to hold her in my arms or even hold her hand. I just need to hold her heart. Mm-hmm. So in a way, the desire and the love that I desire to show isn't limited by a hand.
Right.
And so that's when you break all the limits. And if you can break those limits in seeing a different perception of limits, perception of fulfillment, perception of being content. It's that being content with being able to look at a cube. Many people, they have a goal and they stop when they hit barrier 3 or 4. I don't stop till 8 or 9 or 10. Just because I look at the cube from 6 different angles. And if it's an origami, you unfold it, refold it, and you've got the other 12 sides. I mean, you got the other 6 sides. And so it's interesting when you've been forced to reflect and debate even yourself and contemplate. Mm-hmm. It's contemplating. It's having time to think, reflect. What is it? What is it that's making me feel what it is? Why does that make me feel why I feel this way? Accepting what I can't change what I can, accept the truth, but still believing for whatever those desires are without being delusional. And so, do I have pairs of shoes in my closet? I do. Have I seen miracles of God? Yeah, I have. We should have a podcast series about miracles and power of God.
Yeah.
One of these days, and we should show the MRIs of my back being healed, and I'll bring my shoes. We should really have a discussion about that.
Let's do it.
And having faith to believe. But what if it doesn't change? what is it? Limits are still there. Okay. That doesn't define me. And so that's the fear, that's the doubt, and that's the limitations that I don't even think were in my brain from that dimension back then in categorically way.
You were 13 years younger.
Probably look 13 years older too.
I mean, thanks for sharing all that. That's great. Because what you said about the perception, and thinking that all that happens both in the mind and in the heart. Like there's that proverb that says, for how a man thinks in his heart, so is he. It's like, and it's the perception and the identity that we're getting. Where are we getting it from? Where is it being fed from? Right. And there's those thoughts of like, and one of the things that you just said that was like great is like debating yourself, like having that inner dialogue with the Lord, having that inner dialogue with people around you who actually know you, and saying like asking the things that are actually true about who you are. And I say this to my wife. I say this to the young people around me that I've had the privilege of teaching or discipling. I'm like, there's gonna be a time where I need you to remind me of my words. I don't feel like I need them right now. And it's usually things that have to do with hard things of the heart and the life and being confronted with the word, I'm like, right now I don't need it. I remember I shared on Hebrews 13 once in regards to like the discipline of the Lord and how he disciplines those who he loves. I was like, right now I'm not going through anything. I said, but there's going to come a time where I'm going to need you to remind me of my words. And sure enough, a week later, I needed people around me to remind me of those things. But one of the things that you said also, as I think is a good segue to the main first section of this, is you said, and this is actually something that I've done in my life just on my own, is that in hard moments, like for example, one of the key ones I can remember is when my dad passed away suddenly in a car accident. And I think that was the moment that the Lord helped me understand this, is I was in the car driving from Woodland Hills, driving all the way to North Hollywood, and when we lived in California, and I was in the car crying, screaming, angry, yelling at the Lord, why? It wasn't until a few days later where I sensed in my heart that instead of asking why, it was like, why don't you ask me what? What am I doing? And that has shifted my heart and my attention. And it's a hard conversation to have when someone's going through too hard. It's hard for you to ask yourself, not say why, but to ask yourself what. Because, and what I would say to anybody listening is that asking what does not necessarily dismiss or deny that you're going through something, because you're actually allowing yourself to go into it rather than around it. Because I think the why is like, just give me the answer so I can just get over this. But what opens the door for you to go through it? And I think that's where some of that resilience and grit and all those things happen. But
it's the only way to grow. You have to go through things and grow through things. Yeah. And I love that. Like, don't judge yourself for how you feel or those questions. That's all real. We're not belittling that pain at all. But to grow through that and allow that to process, digest, and see you, number one, not giving up. But having that other sense to ask other questions is amazing. Yeah. It changes everything. Yeah.
And I mean that the maturity comes in that place. And exactly. It hurts. This is what my phrase is. It hurts so good. When you start asking those questions, like it hurts so good.
Yeah. There's a freedom in that.
Right.
There's a freedom in that.
So when I say it hurts so good, it just reminds me of Psalm 23, where it says, his rod and his staff comfort me. I was like, how's that even possible?
Listen.
But it hurts.
If you want the best series of Psalm 23 ever preached by a human being, go check out Anchor Church or My Anchor Church on YouTube. They're in McKinney, north of Dallas area, and we actually attend that church. I'm actually looking at potentially translating their Sunday sermons into many languages because just the teaching and the discipleship and the heart that the church has. We've been going through Psalm 23 like half verse at a time. And
that's awesome.
I
love that passage.
Incredible. Yeah. Incredible. But that's my favorite Psalm, Psalm 23, for sure.
I love it. That's great. I'm going to look into it myself.
And if you don't know what Psalm 23 is, Check it out. It's beautiful.
So, in light of that and what you said a little bit, is a segue into this part is we're going to talk about is faith as foundation, or is the foundation. So this is a quote from the book. And so I think it's a good time to talk about this, because you said 13 years, so much more has happened in your life. You know, in past 13 years, you got married, you got kids. I mean, so much happened, you know, like it's incredible. Like you became more unstoppable. Like it's still unstoppable.
No, I like still unstoppable. I really, really like, I actually think that should be. You know what? I honestly, I think I've just decided in my mind that's what it's going to be. And I've gone through a lot more. I mean, we've gone through a lot more than what people know. You know, you ask my wife. You've been there all these years.
For the past 12.
It's amazing, you know, from when Kiyoshi was born and we got married, and then I had to leave their side. It's just a bad 2013 while preaching the gospel to 5%.
That must have been hard.
5% of the world. Do we go to 5% of the world and preach the gospel and go stadiums and meet 5 presidents and speak in front of governments? Or do I stay at home? There was some circumstances that just came in unforeseen by me and my wife. She was supposed to come with me.
Right.
And that was hard. That was hard for both of us. But you asked my wife, our most difficult years were 2019, 2020, 2021 of our entire life by far. And some people know glimpses of it, but it's been rough. And yeah, why am I still unstoppable? Because God is still faithful. That's it.
So
God is still faithful. If that changes, then nothing else matters.
Right.
But that won't change.
Right.
That's why you got peace. That's why you can smile. That's why you can get through it, because God is always faithful. It doesn't always make sense. Not on your watch. I know I'm looking for my wristwatch, but his timing is amazing, and he is kind. A lot of people don't know the kindness part of God.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the scriptures say, that it's his kindness that leads us to repentance.
Yeah, amen. You know, in one of these podcasts, we should also talk about, why am I a Christian and not another religion? That would be something else.
I think that'd be helpful even for people to hear and just know.
That'd be something else.
So, perfect segue, because a quote from the book is, you said, again, faith, if we're talking about faith as a foundation, is that you said faith in God gives you the courage to live an unstoppable life. So here's the question, is that you wrote that faith is the root of living an unstoppable life. So in the past 13 years now, can you share where faith carried you through something that seemed impossible at the time? Because I'm sure there was moments where you just felt like, is this actually the limitation? Is there a boundary here that actually I can't overcome, and so on? So I think that'd be great for us to hear, is like, and get an update, almost like this is a live update on the book that doesn't exist yet.
I want to first go to the definition of the status of your brain and your heart when you're literally either on the edge of the cliff or you already jumped off the cliff and you're falling and you know you're falling. In the sense of, sometimes we fall off the cliff of a mountain and we land in an ocean. If you've never been in an ocean before, you can't imagine what that looks like. It's like suffering. Every suffering is different. Every circumstance is different. You go through different lows and you think it can't get any lower. And then you come back up and you're on your way to the high, or a good season of life. And we would define that as, I feel happy, content, full of life. Happy, content, full of life. When you come back down to an even lower low, we first and foremost forget how low the last low felt, which was the lowest low at that point, which was lower than the previous low. Mm-hmm. So the lows and highs get lower and higher. And that's the stretch of your maturity. And that's the stretch of the ability to process circumstances and have data points of recollecting what happened, how did I get here, I've relearned this lesson, or I had no idea that this could ever happen to another human being.
Mm-hmm.
This feels terrible. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get back up. And there's two things subliminally. There's one thing to exist and survive.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a difference of just being versus alive. Some of us feel like there's just one thing I got to hold on to. I just got to survive. But deep down, it's like, well, I don't just hope that I survive. I hope that I come one day back alive.
Yeah.
And actually see another good day in my life. When you're down in that despair of darkness in the canyon, you can't imagine the sun. You can't imagine the warmth when you're in the dark, cold night. Mm-hmm. So I want to define that. I want you to know that this is this is how I've become unstoppable. It's reflecting back on the low lows that were seemingly the lowest lows I could ever imagine.
Right.
And then remembering the good times, and remembering when I was in my last low, I didn't think I'd ever be able to come back alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming back alive, I can't imagine ever going back down to something even worse. But here I am. It's a mind game. Unfortunately, yes, there's spiritual warfare, there's reality, there's loss, but unfortunately, it starts with the mind of you. How long will you allow yourself to think that way and almost even condemn your future based on what you feel and what you think today?
By condemn, you mean like self-sabotage?
Self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And some of us hang our hat up on unforgiveness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some of us just hang our hat up on, well, I'll never get over this. I'll never be the same again. I'll never be happy. I'll never find this ever again. That's the self-sabotaging, condemning, defining your future because of you dig your heels in, you fold your arms, and that's it. Well, what's God's plan? Okay, that's what you can see, but you can't see nothing else.
Right.
What is God's plan? So for me, it was, goodness, trying to summarize 13 years. So 2013 was 26 countries without my wife and my newborn son.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to clock 110 speaking engagements in 10 weeks, 6 different time zones. We managed to do several tours in 2013, met a handful of presidents, and it was rough to be a part. And I offered my wife, does she want me to cancel that tour?
I remember that.
And
mm-hmm.
and I meant it.
Yeah.
You know, we're newly married, and she was illegal at the time. Presence here. She came across, she has an incredible, we need to have her share her story one day. She has an incredible story of difficulties and the reasons why she came across the border at age 18, and it took 10 years to get her green card. She didn't have the green card at the point.
Yep.
There was a way to get her green card. We'd have to leave the country for 10 months to get her green card. That was why we planned a 10-month world tour.
Right.
Then all of a sudden,
right,
that president was promising things that didn't come in his re-election at that time. And then we had a baby and had something to do with amnesty and a green card. And now we got a baby. We ain't going to take a baby
right
around the world to 26 countries. That's just too much. So all that to say, 2013 was really, really difficult. And we were not planning on having Kiyoshi so early, a firstborn,
mm-hmm.
But God had different plans. So 2014, and, my wife went through, what do you call that thing,
postpartum? Postpartum depression.
I think most women go through that after their first one, especially in that first year. And
Yeah, they say it can last up to 2 years. Somewhere
Yeah.
in there. It can pop out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Just-
And it took 2014 and kind of 2015 to kind of stable half of that. And then we were pregnant with the second child.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, my stress on that end was I can't help my own wife with our kids. And my hair was falling out from the stress.
I remember that too.
I couldn't I couldn't handle hearing my own child cry and me not be able to help him. And then when they're both crying, she had to choose which one. And I'll never forget, we were at a hotel in California, a beautiful, beautiful, very beautiful courtyards, and there was no one around. It was quite remote. It was beautiful. Kiyoshi got up on a 2-foot brick wall and just balancing on it, and it was pretty safe. But he lost his balance and fell, cut himself on his leg, and little Dayan, he's a baby, and she put him on the ground, on the grass, and she's trying to comfort Kiyoshi, and I can't comfort Dayan, and she can't do both. And I'm like, man, it's really difficult. And so I was very stressed 2015. And then we found out that my dad had cancer in 2015, and he was given 56 days to live. I had asked him to consider for a very long time to write a book. A very long time. And he wrote the book, Raising the Perfectly Imperfect Child, to help especially families and parents with children who have disabilities or families affected with disabilities. And literally 3 days or 4 days after he handed the manuscript to the publishing house, that's when we found out he was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, melanoma carcinoma cancer. And that was hard. That was really, really hard in so many aspects. And there were some unresolved feelings of the past. I had closure as much as closure could be with my dad. But I was still disabled to even speak at his funeral due to some conflicting emotions and thoughts and things between me and my dad that the world doesn't know. And I love him, and we honor him and my mum very well in a documentary coming up in September 2026 called No Limbs, No Limits. And but it was a difficult thing for obviously all of us, and my mum and my siblings and the in-laws of our family, and but he survived till May 14th, 2017, and then he graduated to heaven. And in 2016, you were there by my side when we found out that I had a tumor in my bladder. We didn't know if it was cancerous or not. You'd have to extract the tumor to find out if it was cancerous or not. And then there was something that was not done quite right, and I had internal bleeding. I nearly died in 2016 in a hospital in California. And I remember blacking out. And I said, Mum, because my wife wasn't even there. It was a quick emergency.
Yeah, I drove you.
Fire alarm. You drove me. It was terrible. So that night I nearly died. My wife was on the way to the hospital. My mum beat my wife there to the hospital because she had to figure out the kid's situation. I said, Mum, slap me in the face, punch me, keep me awake. Everything's going black. She said, you look scared. She said, why are you afraid? Don't you know where you're going? At that time, though, that was the last words I could say. Like, keep me awake. Because everything was going black. And I wanted to say, I just don't feel this is my time to go. And I'm thinking, I'm 33, second child. My family needs me. My dad's got cancer. how am I going to beat him to heaven? That doesn't make sense. He's in his 60s, I'm in my 30s. This just doesn't feel like it's my time. Thank God it wasn't cancerous, survived that thing. And then, I mean, we lost so many friends. Laza in a car crash, and my dad in 2017, Laza's first wife, Ellen as well. I mean, when you bury 10 people in 10 days, when you bury 10 people in 10 years that were close to you, it's really, really rough. And it's hard. It's really hard. And some had cancer, some were expected, some were quicker than others, some had a car crash and then a brain aneurysm. And it's just, my 3 father figures, if you will, all left within 2017 up until a couple years ago. And then 2019 came where, some people know what cancel culture is, but I was framed as anti-LGBTQ in an online publishing article that everyone gave credit to, and I was falsely accused of something and got canceled out of corporate America, got canceled out of school districts, got canceled out of it was just amazing, the algorithms and the bullying that we experience on big tech and Facebook and Instagram. And people don't know all the ins and outs of that. Getting canceled out of a bank, having a spying drone over our house, and had the SWAT team over our home because we had a grenade, and all in 2019 because of an article, really. And that was rough. And then we knew in 2019 we needed to leave California. There was a board meeting that I had with a nonprofit organization, Nick V Ministries, our ministry, and it's audio recorded. And I said, I think something bad's going to happen in 2020. I think something very big is going to happen in 2020. I think it's going to affect all of us. It's going to be worldwide, and it's going to actually have an effect like a persecution.
Wow.
And we have to get out of California. And at that time, in 2019, I knew for 4 years some things that were happening in the legislation on state level that was bizarre and self-sabotaging, and really targeting some of the capitalism, conservatism, state legislation. So I started seeing writing on the wall. And Kane was out here in Dallas before we got married, and she has family here, and just felt to leave California. So then we moved.
Yep.
And so our business started tanking because of cancel culture, and then COVID came, and there was no speaking in COVID. And then who knows what's going to happen after that. And so it's been really, really hard. And having almost ripened businesses and the business ready to roll, and then everything was, we're in the education system, and COVID came, and then we were told by that current administration that I'm not a qualified curriculum or persona to talk about values and attitudes in the school system of the United States of America. It was amazing. And so we hit rock bottom. I hit rock bottom in 2021. And I was, in Bible studies with our brothers and friends on Zoom once a week. And someone pulled me aside, John, and he said, you might need some counseling. Have you ever thought of counseling? I said, I've been telling the world this for many years. It's good to get counseling, but I don't. Never went through counseling. So I went through 10 sessions in weekly sessions with Russell, 70s guy, and he's heard everything under the sun. And it was interesting where I didn't really talk about what happened between 2016 and 2021. It was more of, what do you want to talk about? And I went back to actually 2002. And there were some things that I'd rather not share but some hurts that I couldn't forgive. And it took me 10 years to forgive someone who never said sorry and never had resolve, never had closure with, and got a message from that family apologizing in some areas, but I never felt that I could forgive and never had closure, and finally was able to go through 6 hours of counseling about that and could finally forgive, which was amazing. And later the apologies came, and all the closure that I now could ever ask for on this side of heaven, I have, which is amazing. But then just talking to someone, Gus, we also need to have a podcast show about the power of counseling. And it was powerful, just someone saying, what do you want to talk about? How it made you feel? What else do you want to share? It was just amazing to be able to talk to someone one-on-one and in confidence and just sharing all that. And when you are in pain, when you are going through the depths of the depths, you're always going to go to something. And going to something could also mean just going to bed, shut the door, and be depressed for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. That's something. Mm-hmm. That's what you're deciding. And so I know that's the whole, that was so that's up until 2021. And then, moving out here and entrepreneurially starting dreams of old. I asked God, 2023, what do you want me to do? He said, go back to the dreams of old. Reacting to what's happened. But also now in 2025, this is a difficult year again, where we're transitioning me completely off the road, except for preaching the gospel through Nick V Ministries as God leads, which is maximum 4 weeks a year away from my family total. I don't want to do more than that. They're all under age 13, and you can't take back these years. And
right.
And you were one of my inspirations in balance and time management and yearning for that. And but here we are in 2025, and what a crazy month it's been for most of us. Seeing what's happening and praying for our nation, praying that we actually repent, praying that we unify, praying that the church becomes the church. And there are some things that, and sometimes I'm overwhelmed with opportunities. Sometimes I'm waking up, I'm like, why don't more Christians fund what we really need? Mm-hmm. Why don't we do what we're supposed to be doing? So there's this interesting kind of season I'm actually in right now, which is I'm in a bit of a lull these last, couple of weeks. And what book do I write? What do we do with this? What does it look like to have local events? How can I train people to share their story and write their own book and become a speaker? And how do you become a strong business leader? And what mentorship can I already impart on people's lives? And what can I do with kids? These 6, 7, 8-year-olds, they're so precious. I feel like God wants me to do something with children. And is it animation? Is it film? Is it sharing other people's stories? Or documentaries to finally bring a sledgehammer in front of the forehead of the church and wake up? I don't know what the future holds, but it's okay to know enough, just enough for today. And just taking that one step at a time is something that I'm working through. So unstoppable doesn't mean that you always feel strong or victorious. It's the mindset and embrace of God's grace through the ups and downs. It's the race and the embrace of the ups and downs of your faith journey with God. Nothing more, nothing less. He'll always give you grace for today. He'll give you what you need. Promised, he'll give you exactly what you need for today. And that is the foundation of Unstoppable. It's because my foundation of my life, my strength, my weakness, it's all in the hands of God. And my family too. That's a big burden. But I don't have my family in my hands. He's the one that has the whole world in his hands.
Right.
There you go. That's a lot. That's
my response.
Summary.
It's a deep sigh.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And hearing you retell it is interesting to me, just because I'm remembering what some of those days look like, because I was there on a handful of those moments of your life. And I think if I could, I just want to point out for our audience, it's like what just happened is, because people could see you, they'll see your books, they'll see your videos and be like, man, that guy's amazing, right? Like, or that guy. But what I appreciate about what you just did is that you brought us into your humanity. Because all we see from the most part is what people see is the platform or the speeches and stuff like that. But I keep hitting on this, is that comes with depth, that comes with character building, that comes with, like you said, realizing the new lows and realizing that there's new highs, and it's just incredible to hear that, and hear the fact that even now you're experiencing something, but you're here.
Yep.
You're present, you're showing up. And sometimes that's even just the best, the harder part of the job of life is showing up.
Right.
Is like, I'm here. I'm gonna put my dukes up. We're gonna do this. We're gonna figure this out. So, but thank you for sharing that. Like that's like it was as you were sharing it. You wrote this by 2012, and man, did you experience different lower lows, and I'm sure you're just like everybody, every one of us is like, I don't think it can get tougher than this, and then boom, something else happens, and you're like, I did not see that. But again, those places of lows means that there's higher highs. There's places of maturity again, but somebody has to have the grit and the resilience to go through it, and not try to go around it. And I think that's what you were getting at with that when you said that we all run to something, right? And you gave the example of somebody running to the room and just staying depressed and never confronting or going head on into these things. And we self-sabotage. We tend to limit our own growth in doing that. And I think that's what you're getting at, is that the unstoppable part of who Nick is that it doesn't mean there's no lows. It means actually that there's lower lows, but I'm going to keep pressing in. I'm going to keep going in. I have faith as my foundation. I have to keep going.
Yeah.
So let's go into this next segue, and this is the last part that we'll talk about, because I think a lot of the stuff that you were saying, I think, is perfect to this quote that from the book. Again, is you said this, is that speaking on courage and purpose in action, you said you can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And everything you said is a perfect picture for that. So here's the question: so you've lived this truth so authentically, because I've seen it, right, personally, and I think I can say that I'm a witness to that. So for someone struggling out there in our audience to find their purpose right now, what small step of faith can they take today that makes them feel unstoppable, or start walking towards that unstoppable type of life? And because, again, in real time, you're experiencing something. What are those steps that you're even taking that can be helpful to the audience right now? Like, hey, I need to hear that. Like, I need to know that.
Yeah, look, some practical steps that I took. I wrote out 10 different things that I'm very thankful for, and read them out loud. Not just read, but have them there. But those things that I was grateful for in the moment, it didn't feel like it was enough to just be thankful for the good. And so I actually felt the Lord challenge me to actually write out another list, which were 3 things the 3 worst days of my life in the prior 5 years of that day, and write out how it could have been even worse. And so, for instance, I nearly died in a hospital, and that was terrible. Okay, well, at least I didn't die.
Yeah.
It could have been done. Buried my father. Well, at least I was able to say goodbye and have the closure that I had and that time that I had with him. And so it brings a little contrast to realizing, oh, I did have those low lows, and it could have actually been even lower. I think that was a trick that is a good exercise, and a point of thanksgiving, actually. So it's really all about attitude of gratitude there. Number 3 is tell someone that you have a problem or a struggle or a fear, or you're in a lull, whatever you want to call it. And what I did was I actually called 2 of my dearest friends every second week in that period. It's not that they could give me advice. It's not that I was wanting sympathy or empathy or whatever else. It was just I needed to hear their voice. The way that God has made us, what we listen to, the music, what we read, what we focus on, what we watch, it's so amazing how much you allow yourself to take in how that really affects you. And I needed 2 constants outside of my family, which are 2 friends, Steve and Brian. And I called them every second week just to see, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Let's talk about family. Let's not talk about this. Let's not talk about... It's not that we didn't disagree on anything. It was just like, I don't want to talk about that stuff, but let's just talk. And then there would be the questions like, how are you doing this week? And having that steady friendship and kind of pulse helps you understand, because when all you see is you from first person, gives your ability to, oh yeah, that's right, that's what I told you last week. That's right. No, well, this week I'm feeling a little bit better. Oh, this week I actually was able to take a step closer. Oh, this week there is a little less unknown in that thing. And so it's almost like an exercise for yourself to come from a different perspective. Number 4 is holding onto a verse of Scripture. And there were times in life where January 2011, I don't know if it was in that book or not, but that was the first time I lost all my money. And I was in anxiety attacks, not because of losing my money, but I felt like I did everything that the Lord wanted me to do and had the money to start these projects, and I could build the teams, and nothing worked. And God, in that lesson, is like, well, I know you had the money to start it. You had the skill to build the team. Those were the projects to do, but you didn't ask me when I wanted them. So there was a massive lesson in timing. But in that anxiety, it's like, God, I thought I heard you really loud and clear. So for 30 days, I had anxiety attacks. And in those 30 days, I found myself in the shower out loud having to quote out a verse out loud, Philippians 4:13, for I can endure all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that was a verse that could get me through that season. So what's that verse for you? And reminding yourself of that. And then 5th is helping someone else in need. It helps you to take the focus of how you feel. It allows you to definitely not play the victim card that day. And you realizing that there's still a sense of purpose and value and belonging you have in God as an identity of His child, making the world a better place, helping someone else in need in a way that you're not looking for a thank you. They maybe cannot even thank you back. That is kind of like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I would help people kind of map out for themselves and how to get out of those times.
That's great. So you said list the 10 things that you're grateful for, and then 3 that things could have been worse, right? And then an attitude of gratitude was the second one, and then telling someone was the third one. Bringing somebody in bringing someone in to tell them, and then the fourth one was finding some truth in scriptures that can help you and sustain you in that. And then the last one is help somebody else in need. And that's also where your phrase comes from. Like when you don't get a miracle, you can also be a miracle for someone else and be that for someone else. So that's great. I think it'd be great to even. I'm going to say this now. You can download that worksheet. I'm going to create it. I'm going to download the worksheet so that you can walk and write those 5 things out and make your list. Mm-hmm. And I think it'd just be a great resources for people to have, so that they don't even have to create it. It's going to be created for them. So you can download it right here in the link.
And don't be afraid of wondering if you need counseling. You need counseling, you get counseling,
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing that. Those are really, really great points to end on. And again, if you don't know, so Nick has Unstoppable book.
Yeah, it's me on a surfboard.
And you can actually catch that clip on YouTube if you look it up. But a lot of the same truths and principles that we were talking about today are in there. And the conversation today really was like an update, hey, how are you still unstoppable? And you wouldn't have known that Nick has gone through those things unless he's talking about those things right here. So again, thank you for staying this long. And I think what I want to let you know now is that we're going to have a giveaway of 5 Unstoppable signed books by Nick. And we'll share that video with you when Nick is signing, so you know exactly that it's Nick and it wasn't myself or Ethan, our producer back there. It was actually Nick. But I think that it would just be helpful because one, you might want the book and you might just feel like it's going to be a special thing, a memory to have that it was even signed by Nick, but also just to get those truths and those principles into your hands. And so click the link below for the special giveaway, and you'll see the instructions in there on what you need to do. And again, one of those things you need to do is subscribe to the channel, and you'll see that right there in there, and you'll be entered in to win one of the signed 5 books, Unstoppable books by Nick. And again, if you haven't already done so, subscribe now, like this video, as it will help us get the video out to other people who need to hear this. And you could even just share it directly, even in this moment, if you know somebody who needs to hear the truths of just living a life of faith that will help you be unstoppable. This is your moment to do so. And with that, I'm so grateful that you joined us today, and we will see you on the next one.
I just want to say as well, before we say goodbye, comment below. What do you think of me writing a book called Still Unstoppable? And what would you like me to, if I did write a book, what would you like me to write about? We'd love to know your comments on that.
Yeah.
Gus, thank you so much for doing this, and this is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Love you, Nick.
I love you too. All right, we love you. Take care. Peace. Bye.